Hello, my name is Shulkin Trajan and we are Team 41. For our final project, we developed a ventilator weaning recommendation system for providers. My teammates are Sheehan and Ziyu, who focused on research and design, as well as Josh and Brendan, who spearheaded the development of the application. Before we dive into the application itself, it's important to understand the current mechanical ventilation landscape. Mechanical ventilation is used in acute care settings to help aid patients with breathing. However, there are some risks associated with ventilator use, such as infection, collapsed lung, and lung damage. The weaning protocol is a process of getting the patient off the ventilator while lowering these risks. Across the United States, there are 790,000 hospitalizations, including mechanical ventilation, and the associated outcomes with mechanical ventilation weaning are not very good. To help address this issue, we created an application that provides weaning recommendations to physicians using patient data and provider evaluations. Our application works by providing physicians weaning recommendations using both patient data collected via FHIR and in-person evaluations on the patient's health. Providers log into our application are presented with all of their patients currently on mechanical ventilation, along with what stage the patient is in the weaning evaluation process. Providers also have access to the patient's pertinent medical data from the application itself. To create the recommendation for the physician, we employ a two-step process to ensure that patients show consistent signs of being ready to breathe on their own before being weaned from their ventilator. This decision process was made using current medical literature as well as recommendations made by the American Association for Respiratory Care.
Let's show our login functionality of the application. As you can see, the login works as expected. If we try refreshing the page without logging out, our session is still maintained. Now let's show someone trying to log in while using the wrong credentials. As you can see, this user is not allowed into the system. Once logged in, providers can see all of their patients in a table and the basic information and current status in the ventilator weaning process. To view specific patient information, we can click the history button next to the patient's name. Providers will also be automatically directed to this page after filling out an evaluation for that patient. The patient data that you see on this page is pulled from a FHIR server into an auxiliary database. In this database, we run our decision process to determine whether or not the patient can be removed from ventilation. We follow a two-stage approach where a patient is determined ready for their first evaluation, given certain respiratory rate and blood oxygen saturation conditions. If these minimum standards are met, the provider can click the Evaluate button next to the patient's name or evaluate them here. Then, after going through the form, if the patient passes all the requirements, their recommendation will be updated. Let's see this in action. Currently, the patient is at stage 1, and if we evaluate them, then they'll be ready for stage 2 evaluation. Now, in the real world, you're supposed to wait 24 hours between moving stages. However, for simulation purposes in this app, we've set that limit to be 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, the doctor can reevaluate the patient and see if they passed the stage 2 evaluation. If so, the recommendation will be updated to extubate. If not, then they'll be reset to stage 1. Let's reevaluate Vivek. Here you can see he passed the stage 2 evaluation and is now ready to extubate. Let's try Williams' evaluation. In this case, let's make him not pass the evaluation. Here we can see he's just been reset to stage 1. Whenever any page is visited in the website, our application checks to make sure that there is an active session. For example, if we look at the page right now, we're at the All Patients page. Let's log out and try to access the same page. As you can see, we're given a 401 error, showing that we're not authorized to access this patient information until we log in. Alternatively, let's see what happens when you try and visit a page that doesn't exist in the app. Here you can see we get a 404 page, and we'll try that again one more time. So if we click the Go Back button, we'll be navigated to our previous page. In this case, we're unauthorized.
To keep track of our process, we used a Gantt chart along with the individual task lists for every team sprint. Our work was primarily split into 3 groups: research, front-end development, and database integration. Among our group, we divided up the responsibilities based on our members' strengths and had very little problems accomplishing the goals we set for ourselves. You can view our final Gantt chart using the link in this presentation or in our final deliverable on GitHub. There are 2 major limitations for this application currently. First of all, the weaning protocol in this application is very simple and likely something a physician would not need the aid of a computer system with. Where this application could become useful is if over large amounts of data we are able to train a model to better discern patients who are ready to wean versus those who are not. Creating a more sophisticated weaning algorithm would be the very next step in improving our application's viability. Once a better protocol is created, our application is very easily modifiable to support more data and an improved protocol. The second major limitation would be the integration within the doctor's current workflow. Physicians would likely want an application that works with their current EMR systems to automatically notify them on the patient's current weaning prospects without the requirement of logging into a separate application. While none of the members on our team have experience with EMR application integration, that would be another one of the next steps for bringing this application to market. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation.